It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and my favorite part of the show, the beginning, when we guess what the graphic is going to be behind Tim Slagle. And I'm going to think, Tim, probably a charcoal sketch you did yourself of Paul Vallis from the time that he was on the show with us, one of our guests, and he was so deferential to me that, of course, I have a great support for him, even though he believes I'm an idiot because I like Ron DeSantis. But that's besides the point. Let's reveal what the charcoal or what the graphic is behind Tim Slagle right now.
You're very close.
The show, and it's Windy City Movers. There we go. All right. Everybody's leaving town because Brandon Johnson is going to become the mayor of the city of Chicago.
Oh, no, that's just parked outside City Hall.
Oh, I see. For Lori Lightfoot. There's a guy who writes for a Chicago lawyer. I think his name is Jeff Behar. I want to say, he writes for National Review now. And he pointed out that, Lori Lightfoot keeps talking about how she was the first black, gay, female mayor of a major city. And this guy pointed out that she lost the black, female, gay vote. So that was a pretty good accomplishment.
She was actually the second little person, though.
Yeah, exactly. And, why was it that Rahm Emanuel took that job as ambassador to Japan again, Tim? I can't remember.
He wanted to be tall.
There you go. There you go. So Chris, our producer, sending me information because he considers himself a political wag, and hey, I'm a sportscaster. What do I know? But he's and I think we're going to show this graphic that apparently the city went along racial lines. Paul Vallis got the white wards, white areas, and Brandon Johnson got the red areas, and so it apparently does not bode well, according to this chart, for Paul Vallis. But he just got Jesse White's endorsement today, one of the most successful politicians in Illinois history. So,
what's interesting about that map to me is the overwhelming amount of Lori Lightfoot area, but yet she came in third.
Right. She could probably sympathize with Donald Trump, who had all the red areas, but she has not claimed that the vote was stolen. So, or as Trump would say, Stalin. The other thing I noticed, those earmuffs that Guterres that represented Guterres's district, if you remember, looks like the headband on those earmuffs are like your oh wow, unbelievable.
Bruce, the band is broken. It looks like the hipsters have kind of taken over some of the Hispanic neighborhood.
You're going to have to give me a time cue, somebody, because I just stopped my stopwatch accidentally.
3:26.
So we're at 3:26 now, so we got 8 more minutes to go in this segment. Okay, but here we go. Started again. Oh, there I am. All right. Yeah, we're fine.
The Mexican and Puerto Rican neighborhoods are now completely separate. There used to be a little connecting band between them, but
there we go. I'm telling you.
I think that's probably Pilsen, and that's all the hipsters now.
Yeah, right. And the 47th ward, all the liberals, have to go for Brandon Johnson. But I actually was driving on the way home from my granddaughter's concert, and so I listened to WBBM radio. I haven't listened to them in a long time. And Craig Dellamore, who's been there for a long, long time, said that the defund the police is more nuanced than people think. So already he was running interference for Brandon Johnson there. I think if Johnson can make that case, that defunding the police, which he apparently endorsed at some point, is nuanced. He actually might have an easier time making people think he's independent of the Chicago Teachers Union as well. And I don't know. Maybe it's because Paul Vallis flattered me when he was on the show. people are worried about crime. There was a murder of a police officer, apparently by or allegedly by some kid who was not charged in an incident a few months ago. So people are really concerned about it, and most blacks even say they want school choice. So this is the Chicago Teachers Union. Somebody called it the modern day version of the Democratic machine, the Chicago Teachers Union, which really got the vote out for Brandon Johnson up against the public.
Yeah.
So I just got to think that I'm hopeful. I mean, I have no stake in this because Windy City Movers came to my house in 1958. That's the last time I lived in the city of Chicago. So, and as I mentioned, Vallis had ripped DeSantis because he's trying to separate himself from the fringe, supposedly. Of course, we're all going to be supporting DeSantis if he becomes the Republican nominee. But I mean, let's say the critical race theory was taught in the Chicago public schools, contra what DeSantis wants. I mean, the students should only be proficient enough to read the words critical race theory. And if they can read, I mean, that would be fine. That would be fine. So any closing statements on this election?
Yeah,
from you?
It's gonna be an interesting runoff. That's
it really is.
It already got vicious. I mean, it was like 5 minutes into counting the votes, and Johnson was already out there trashing Vallis. So
for what? I mean, is he because he's a white racist? I mean, I mean, all white people are racist, right? I mean, it's.
I can't remember what I can't ever remember what he was attacking him over. I don't know if it was the fact that he was says no to that he's against education, or that he's lying about the police.
Oh, okay. You know who his campaign manager is? Vallis is. It's Joe Trippi, who I was always impressed with when he was on Fox. He's a Democratic strategist. He managed Howard Dean's campaign years ago. So when Vallis starts yelling, we're going to take the 47th ward and we're going to take the 48th ward. You'll know where Vallis got it. All right. So meanwhile, I had never read the Dilbert cartoon. Had you? Were you a fan of Dilbert?
Really? Oh, I always thought it was funny. It was just it was.
I'm not saying it wasn't funny.
Oh no! It was basically what went on in the office. What went on, with the corporation. It was kind of software focused. And there were little in jokes that if you knew software, which
okay,
I'm guessing you don't.
Obviously, witness how I fumble just to get on this podcast every day mechanically. So yeah, Scott Adams, who was known to be conservative, I mean, before this on some podcast, said some statements that it's kind of tough to defend. I mean, he went a little overboard because there was this poll that said that 53% of black people think it's okay to be white, but that means that 47% didn't say it was okay to be white. And he started saying things like,
then he added the amount of people who were unsure whether it was okay to be white.
Right.
He got it up to about 2/3 of black Americans can't say it's okay to be white.
But he basically said he called blacks, like all blacks, racists, which is kind of difficult. I thought that remember Mitt Romney had that 47% situation that did him in, but he said 47% are relying on the rest of us. I mean, if he just said he had problems with the 47% who wouldn't say it's okay to be white, that would have been one thing. Yeah, he did try to walk it back, but that's not going to float. Pardon my Al Campanis.
Well, what's kind of interesting is what he really said was, and he said, if you're white, you're in danger, and you need to get away from black people, is what he said. And all I could think was, well, if he was a black cartoonist and says, you black people need to get away from the white people, he'd be hosting on MSNBC right now.
Or he'd be doing the morning show on CNN in the place of Don Lemon. And it's now time for my weekly Don Lemon trash. No Don Lemon news. No Don Lemon news today. So, Anyway, speaking of those cable networks, anything new on Fox News this week? Oh yeah, Howie Kurtz, who does the media show on Sundays for Fox News, did not mention the whole brouhaha with Dominion, which was, and he does a media show, and he didn't even mention it on his media show, but he did say, he was quoted somewhere saying, well, they won't let me talk about it. And I thought that was great of Fox News to let him say they won't let me say anything about that, because I mean, I've always wondered about these non-disclosure agreements. Are you even allowed to say to somebody, I signed a non-disclosure agreement? Because that could be disparaging to to your former employer. I don't know. So, kudos to Fox on that. Now, I do think that Tiger Woods should have handed a tampon to Tucker Carlson, because I mean, that guy's a whore. What can I say? I mean, he's a well-paid one. I mean, it's great, but and I don't know how much blowback there's going to be, because Kevin McCarthy gave Tucker Carlson that January 6th video, and Ben Shapiro, and another conservative luminary, didn't seem to have any problems with McCarthy giving it to Tucker. Not that he should have any problems with that issue per se, but it's not like Tucker's been slimed by the entire conservative establishment, even though, as I said, he is a whore.
Well,
okay.
I think a lot of conservative media say, well, I'm glad they didn't give it to me, because I don't want to go through 41,000 hours.
Oh my God. Oh, it's Andy Warhol once did a movie about a guy sleeping for 8 hours. It's just like, let's test you.
Actually, I think Empire was his big one, and that was 11 hours of footage of the Empire State Building.
It reminds me of Andy Kaufman when he was at Carnegie Hall, I guess, and he started trilling, and he didn't on the piano, and he didn't he started a refrain, and he did the refrain ad nauseum until people were walking out. I think it was Victor Borga who did the trilling forever. All right, we're going ad nauseum here on the first segment. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and that's the watershed moment for Saturday Night Live. All of a sudden, they're going right wing, attacking Big Pharma. Of course,
I don't think they knew they were going right wing. They thought it was Woody Harrelson. I think that was the last thing. I mean, that's the whole thing about this whole vaccination thing, is that people tried to pin it all on the Trump supporters and say it was just a bunch of dumb Republicans. They forget that the left has been anti-vaccination for decades.
One of those Kennedys was, no, they just. Everybody's done so much flip-flopping. I mean, it used to be that the left was against Big Pharma, and now they're in favor of Big Pharma. So I don't know exactly where Woody falls, but even so, and he might have been able to say that because I think this was his 5th time hosting SNL, and then you're given carte blanche as well as a gold jacket or something like that. So maybe they didn't even look at his. But
did you watch the whole monologue? Apparently, when it's your 5th time, you're allowed to get baked before you go on too.
It's probably mandatory. So, no, they'll actually, come back into my good graces when they could start doing Christine Blasey Ford jokes. The thing that really finally turned me off to Saturday Night Live, and I had, I'll still watch some clips of some routines, but it's that smug Colin Jost doing the Weekend Update. And first of all, he gets to be married to Scarlett Johansson. So that upset me right there. The second thing is that I think they're married. The second thing is that they were so smug about Brett Kavanaugh. And it was total bull. It was all bull about this. And they and they never made fun of Christine Blasey Ford. Of course, you can't make fun of her, even though God knows if she's even telling anything resembling the truth about what happened in 1982. So
she looked to me. I don't know if you remember. I think it was like Tweety Bird's nephew or something called Egbert, and had those enormous glasses on.
Sure,
that's what she looked like to me. I mean, how could you not parody that? How could you not gotten some big?
Oh no, because she had to be telling the truth. I mean, back then, do you remember the movie Revenge of the Nerds? Okay, there's a scene with dry humping in there, and it's played for laughs. Now, I'm not saying that's right, okay, but I mean, I love when people try to graft onto 2000 something what was going on in 1982, and that's the end of the guy's career. Okay, speaking of correcting things from the past, did you see that they're going to do with the Roald Dahl treatment to Ian Fleming's James Bond books?
That's going to be really popular.
Tim, I just cannot see a character, a femme fatale named Wussy Galore. I mean, it just doesn't do it for me. I once was going to have came up with a James Bond script idea where the femme fatale is his mother, and he doesn't realize it, and it was going to be called Oedipusy. But I don't think you get to do that now. So, however, I looked. You got to dig into the details here. It doesn't sound that bad, because apparently, if what I read is correct, Bond's mocking views of the Korean character Oddjob are still going to be allowed. And references to the, quote, sweet tang of rape, unquote, and a description of homosexuality as a stubborn disability will also remain. So I'm trying. What are the changes they're going to be making? It doesn't sound like.
Have you ever read James Bond?
Never read it. I'm not a reader.
I don't know anybody who really has.
Nobody actually read. The joke used to be, and like in Mad Magazine, that Ian Fleming with rigor mortis, one of his fingers moved and touched the typewriter key, and then that was the stroke that for yet another James Bond book credited to him, because he was writing these books posthumously, forever and ever. So,
some of those later ones were so far from the original character he created. I mean,
really? Okay.
It was he was a rough and tumble secret agent, but I mean, the future, you get to the later ones and they're all futuristic, and they have all these gadgets, this gadgetry, and closer to Batman than James Bond.
I mean, I love the Aston Martin, in the originals. So, I mean, that was enough gadgetry for me, but I could see where it was going. I mean, he must have jumped the shark at some point when Henry.
Yeah,
Winkler
at some point it was indistinguishable from Get Smart.
Would you believe another James Bond movie? Okay. So I know that you don't even know who this guy is, but as you know, last week I said I believe you're going to be supporting him, and his name is Vivek Ramaswamy. The Harvard educated guy who's made a fortune in pharmaceuticals or whatever. He's running for president. And he says, as president, I will work with Congress to enshrine political expression as a civil right. If you can't fire someone for being black or gay or Muslim or white or Hindu or whatever, then you shouldn't be able to fire them for being an outspoken conservative either. It's funny. I mean, while I like that he's protecting people like me, I'm actually against what I think you should be able to fire people for whatever reason you want, and let the marketplace decide. I mean, I don't think you want to put that choice into the binary, though, that you just made it there, Bruce. Because you essentially just said, well, yeah, you should be able to fire someone for being black or gay or Muslim or Hindu or right. Exactly. Thanks for correcting me on that one. Yeah. No, but I mean, political expression. Here's the thing. My sister is this radical feminist employment attorney, really good one in Missouri, and so there's a whole bunch of laws protecting employees, but my view is they're kind of obsolete, these laws, because we live in an age now where there's so much communication and you can get so much information. I mean, it used to be that you go to the car dealership and then you'd have to go to another car dealership and find out and go back and forth on prices. And now you could go to the one car dealership and have all the prices of everywhere else on your phone. You could do that with job opportunities, with whatever any employer is possibly offering, what kind of reviews the employer gets. So you could shop around, especially in today's market where it's such a tight labor market. In some manner or fashion, I think these employment discrimination laws are obsolete. But of course, I would never be in favor of discriminating against Jews because I am one. So,
well, I got a question on Vivek Ramaswamy. He said he was in pharmaceuticals. Was he in actual pharmaceuticals, or is he would make a fortune in health supplements? Because there's something. No, I could be wrong on this, but he kind of smells like health supplements to me.
No, I thought he was actually legit, and that's why he actually made some decent money. And it wasn't like he was coming up with those AIDS AIDS mints that were
well, there's legitimate
advertised
money
in Parade magazine years ago.
Yeah, but there was legitimate money in that as well.
I'm sure there was.
There's stores all over selling. It's 2 aisles at the local Jewel now are just filled with all these fish oils and omega-3s and vitamin D's and
right. And are they ever going to come up with anything that tastes halfway decent? I mean, that you could actually live on?
Not in that aisle.
No, not in that aisle. So, so then there was this New York Times story. Well, there's Vivek, but and this is by Hannah Dreyer, who's I guess is won a Pulitzer Prize already for something else. But she writes about, and I'm surprised the New York Times allows genuine journalism, but it does. These migrant children who've been coming across into the United States without their parents in record numbers are ending up in some of the most punishing jobs in the country. It's a shadow workforce, extends across industries in every state, flouting child labor laws that have been in place for nearly a century. You have 12-year-old roofers in Florida and Tennessee, underage slaughterhouse workers in Delaware, Mississippi, and North Carolina, children sawing planks of wood on overnight shifts in South Dakota. So, as everybody's saying right now, they were better off in the cages than going in and taking these jobs.
How is that possible? I mean, the way I've read the article, it sounds like there's actually like like you go back a century when you go into one of these shops. There's
that's exactly
a bunch of crying children chained to a press. And
right.
How could they get away with that? How is that possible? I would think that,
and then you have a kid coming up, and he's starving and he's going, "Please, sir, could I have some more lunch?" It's just
because this isn't
very Dickensian. Yeah.
According to the article, I mean, this isn't like a guy, around the corner that's just got some kids working for him. These are major corporations that employ,
and it's a lot of kids, and
and they don't have their parents. They don't have their parents there.
No,
because
no.
Well, I'm sure that's what their parents did. Is they said, once you get over the border, you go to work and send money home. So I mean, they're probably doing what their parents told them to.
Right, but I mean, it's absolutely horrible. It's an abomination. Now that's one area where I think you should have employment attorneys. And how about we start the union for the the 12-year-old slaughterhouse workers.
Child workers of America.
Child labor. Oh boy, we better bail out of this segment right now. Bruce Wolf, thanks for saving me there on the discrimination thing. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
There is new intelligence that's likely to rekindle the unsettled debate over the origins of COVID. The U.S. Department of Energy has concluded that it most likely came from a lab leak and not from an infected animal. But two CNN sources point out the department only backs this new assessment with, quote, low confidence.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So the CNN, MSNBC, the entire liberal media establishment
Yeah,
have
it's
to
decided to
eat crow.
report what we've all known the entire time.
Although I give the New York Times credit for not exactly doubling down, but I think their story on it said, "Oh, this is, it's still low confidence. There's still, but we got hey, two departments of the administration that we don't really like so much: the FBI and the Department of Energy coming
Right.
over to our side on this." There was a really good. I don't like to read
What's the
stories, but
Department of Energy?
Jim,
What's the Department of Energy doing? I mean,
exactly. I mean, and that's what.
it's
So a guy like Stephen Colbert, who, if you recall, a couple of years ago, basically his mentor Jon Stewart was on the show, and Stewart tried to proffer, the suggestion that it was the lab leak, and Colbert mocked him. It's a little like Scottie Pippen mocking Michael Jordan, in the world of smarmy liberal TV hosts, and so. But Stewart is vindicated on this, and Stewart, was pilloried for this. The
You think the Department of Energy be looking
Department of
for
Energy?
They'd be looking for energy. I mean, it's
The Department of Energy, apparently, Jim Garrity of National Review. I mean, basically, he pirated his own story and just thought it was so important he put it in a tweet thread, and which made it readable for me. That there's this department. It's called the Z Department, the letter Z, and they've been involved in a lot of secret stuff over the years, but they must have found something there and they're not giving it away exactly what it was, but we all circumstantial evidence. The Chinese lie about everything.
Well, here's what I knew right from the start.
Yeah.
I have a friend that grew up in Hong Kong, and he goes back to China quite a bit, and I asked him about bat soup. And he said that he's very adventurous as far as cuisine goes. And he said, I've been to a lot of restaurants in China. I have never once seen bat soup on the menu. And he said, he followed up and goes, because if I would have tried it.
I mean, if they had said it come from a dog, I could understand that. But no, so, and here are the implications. I was listening to Abe Greenwald on the Commentary podcast, and he was quoting something from Cormac McCarthy. So I'm dropping a few names here, going really deep, a deep cut on this one. But it basically comes down to we don't really want to know the truth about this, because what are the implications when it turns out that it's from their lab and then they covered it up and were responsible for millions and millions of deaths? We don't want to face that down because, we like our Apple, phones and this and that. Although Apple's moving a lot of stuff, I guess, to India now, but we don't want to face it. And that's, it's wonderful to have that denial. But I mean, so we showed the Woody Harrelson bit.
They closed down the wet markets in order to keep up their lie.
Yeah, it was horrible.
So I mean, not only were they willing to let this virus be unleashed on the world, lie about it, they were willing to take away people's pangolin dinner for a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, so much of this story, it's turned the way of Ron DeSantis and everybody else who was, that looks delicious. That's but you pay a little extra at our local restaurants for that, to have that delivered. But the the kids were never at risk, and that was clear pretty early. Even the Europeans knew that, and they're supposed to be avant-garde, but we just,
the ironic thing in my
we were the
family,
worst. I'm sorry.
All the young people who should have been pretty much not sequestering themselves. They should have been out there acting like kids, going to spring break, going to parties, and kind of circulating that disease, because they weren't at risk at all. For them, it was just the flu. And us older people, we should have been isolated. We should have been vaccinated. But I don't know about you, but in my family, all the older people refuse to quarantine. They refuse to get vaccinated, and all the young people quarantined and vaccinated.
Which, yeah, I mean,
the exact opposite ridiculous. Of what we should have done.
Yeah, I mean, we quarantined and we vaccinated, but but no, it was a horrible situation, and what we learned from that is not to trust anybody anymore, and that's another reason to vote for Paul Vallis. I don't know what his stance on it was, but certainly the Chicago Teachers Union kept the kids out of school. They'd still be out of school if the CTU had their way. So you go ahead and vote for Brandon Johnson. Speaking of kids in school, did you see this video of this teacher who was pummeled by a student? I mean, it's unbelievable.
He took away his video game.
Well, she took away his video game, and let's see where was this? Was this in North Carolina? I can't remember. I mean, he runs at her and just starts stomping on her, and I'm thinking that this woman's donation in kind has to be worth at least $1.380 toward defraying the $14 trillion in reparations that Disney's 1619 project says is owed. She did her part. She gave it the office, or in the hallway, whatever.
There's a kid who should be working in a sweatshop. There we go. There should be somebody sawing 2x4s 12 hours a day.
He's a little too old to be in those sweatshops. I think he's about
a little bit too much energy.
4 years too old. Then I know nobody read this, but I did. So Emily Barr used to be the general manager of Channel 7 in its heyday, when everybody watched Channel 7's news. She has actually called for bias in the media coverage of guns. There was a reporter, I guess, and a photographer who were shot and killed. And I mean, it's horrible. But she said, enough with this even-handed coverage. And I mean, it's startling. I mean, you could give, sure, you want to give the anti-gun argument. I try to give it on this podcast from time to time, but a TV news station which purports to give news, she's throwing objectivity.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Bruce. What do you mean she wants equal coverage for?
She doesn't want equal coverage. She's got an agenda that we've got to change the culture. Okay. We've got to change the culture of America. We don't have to.
We can't say anything.
We
can't say anything good about guns. Is what she's.
Well, I don't know if she said you can't have anybody ever, but definitely she's arguing for making the case that the guns are horrible. And that I don't think that's the job of a TV newscast. It's the job.
And then after the news, you're going to watch 3 hours of prime time where guns actually save people's lives. I mean,
well, you
got to go through the whole network. It's like, no, guns can only be used by criminals in all ABC programming here forth.
Yeah, talk about the glorification of violence there, Emily Barr. So, we were talking about reparations. And San Francisco, is in the vanguard of reparations for blacks, and they're talking about astronomical figures. I saw like 5 million thrown out. I don't know if that's per person.
5 million per person.
Well, here's one of the problems.
That's going to cost San Francisco $10 million.
Exactly, because all the blacks have left San Francisco.
And then
I left my reparations in San Francisco. So yeah, I mean, there's nobody there.
Then you got the problem. Is what are you going to do about all the railroad workers? Because that's pretty much that's all there is in San Francisco anymore.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go. And
it's finally, it's all software engineers.
Oh, okay, yeah. Did you see where MGT Marjorie Taylor Greene did showed herself working out in a video, and I I got it. Did you see this video?
I did not.
It's just like, why? She's.
She on
she's working out well.
Is she on an elliptical? Is she?
She's doing like push-ups and pull-ups, and she's doing more things than I could ever do.
Sure.
But she's that woman should just calm down, have a 3 martini lunch. I mean, there she is. She's a tough man or woman.
I don't know about you, Bruce, but I find that vaguely titillating.
Accent on the vaguely. See now, I'd actually, who I'd like to see in Congress? I'd like to see AOC working out. That's what I'd actually like to see. Although, and it just came out today. You remember that dress that she wore to the Met Gala?
I saw that. I saw about that.
And apparently it was an ethics violation, or may very well be an ethics violation to have taken that dress. So,
no, is what it was is that the tickets for the Met Gala where she wore that dress go from 35,000 to 50,000 a piece, and there was no legislative purpose for her to be there. And even if there was, she got a ticket for her boyfriend too.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
And you can get a ticket for your spouse if it's a legislative legitimate legislative event.
All right, we'll see. She'll be leaving the Congress right after George Santos does. He's still there, right? Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
We've got breaking news out of the NHL where Patrick Kane is headed to the Big Apple. That is per multiple reports. The Rangers will send a 2023 second and fourth round pick to Chicago in exchange for the 9-time All-Star. Kane had spent his entire 16-year career up to this point with the Blackhawks, winning 3 Stanley Cups.
Bruce Will, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and Tim just informed me that he was not familiar with the work of Patrick Kane.
Sorry, I'm not into figure skating.
As exactly, and you know what? I mean, he had the moves of a figure skater. It was he could double axel his way with the puck. As we speak tonight, he was making his debut with the New York Rangers, and the Blackhawks were going to be playing their first game without him. And at the United Center, I saw this aerial view. They had a big swath of the parking lot carved out where people could write their messages for Patrick Kane. And I was thinking, of course, they don't need the parking lot for cars because Patrick Kane isn't on the team anymore. So, I totally get it. But it is kind of tough to lose.
I could imagine what kind of messages he would get from hockey fans for leaving the team.
Well, no, actually they're okay with him leaving because the Hawks are rebuilding. But I get it. It's tough to lose Bobby Hull and Patrick Kane in 1 month, so they should probably just change the team name to the Commanders now and get it over with. Which get into the politically correct mode. Did you see the apparently this Alex Murdaugh, we talked during the break. You don't really care about that either, and neither did I. I mean, I can't pay attention to every single murder trial, but apparently, as we're speaking, I mean, he was just within the last couple of hours or whatever found guilty of murdering his wife and his son. He's a 54-year-old attorney.
So there were 2 shooters, like the.
Well, here's the thing.
Tried to.
Apparently, O.J. Simpson was being interviewed, of course.
What?
About this, and he said, "I don't know why you're interviewing me about this." So he actually said that, but then he said he thought the guy would beat the rap. So I think the difference is Johnny Cochran was not available, having shuffled off this mortal coil.
I still cannot figure out why this was national news. And why this gripped the nation. I am puzzled by this. It's one double homicide. I mean,
it is a wife
Chicago. In Chicago, that's like Thursday.
Okay, but it's I can see it.
Is it because it was televised? Is it did it turned into a soap opera? Was it expensive attorneys who didn't mind racking up the hours and they dragged it out into a show? What is the fascination?
Look, you're preaching to the choir. I think, with relatively older people like us, we've seen a lot already. We saw the OJ trial. That was a daily thing that we saw. I wish I had seen the OJ trial while I was in law school. I would have learned so much. How to be so stupid. Don't have him put the glove on over another glove. But no, it didn't faze me. But I mean, to me, this is like one of many Netflix series that I haven't seen. We're just trying to catch up in our house. We're watching Friday Night Lights right now, which ended like 8 years ago, and it's news to us. And hey, Tim, it's got everything for the whole family because the whole family's watching it. And for us, it's got football, okay, and hot high school chicks. And they're high school. They're 27-year-old women who are playing.
So you're acting high school, so you don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel dirty.
Right. No,
was Murdaugh a household name before
Murdaugh?
Murdaugh? I don't see. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I don't know. You see, that's why the OJ trial was so fascinating, because everybody knew OJ.
Well, right. Or OJ. As a matter of fact, when OJ occurred, because we were following this in real time every second of the way, the first reaction from everybody was, "Oh, can you believe OJ's wife and ex-wife and this man were killed? That's so terrible. I feel so sorry for OJ." Nobody, because everybody loved OJ Simpson. He was, the black community loved him, the Jewish community loved him, everybody loved him. And
do you remember his rental car commercial?
Of course, he was running through airports. Hertz.
Running, not moving slowly with a parade of police behind him.
Yeah, everybody loved O.J. Simpson, and there was one Richard Lewis bit where Richard Lewis had a special, and he had O.J. Simpson on it, and O.J. Simpson was talking about how he was telling his psychiatrist that I think that's what he was doing. He was saying, I had the football. I keep having this dream, and I'm running up, and I'm up to the 1 yard line, and I'm ready to score. And then I just stop, and I refuse to score a touchdown unless everybody donates $1,000 to the United Jewish Appeal. And that's how much he was loved. And nobody wanted to believe it. Hey, we all have our dark sides. But let us shift over. And can we go back? Because I love this video too. I don't know how many people are actually watching this as opposed to, getting it through Morse code. But Joe Biden jogging. Did you see him going over to, I think it's the helicopter, Marine One, and he's got his suit on and he looks okay, but then he actually tries to take one little jogging step. He's trying to show that he's spry. And
because he fell down the stairs last week.
Well, right. But
the last time he fell down the stairs, he got on a bicycle, if you remember.
You could practically see while he's walking across the lawn that there's a marker for him that says, "Okay, jump right here," and don't try to.
Well, jump because if he jumped a little too late, he'd be under the rotor.
No, we don't want another Vic Morrow. Hey, talk about helicopter accidents for $1,000. You remember what movie Vic Morrow was shooting at the time? When he lost his head, I believe.
It was The Twilight Zone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And John Landis was directing it.
Oh my God, that's horrible. So what else we got here? Okay, Supreme Court apparently looks like, if you read the tea leaves, that they're going to rule that Biden's student loan plan is unconstitutional. There were some.
How could it not be?
Hey, Elena Kagan said, "I'm sorry, you've been allowing this for decades. It's okay. It's okay."
Elena Kagan probably said, "Yeah, he doesn't have the power, but we do. Loans forgiven." Smack,
Well, I mean,
smack.
really, I mean, it's basically Congress writes the legislation. I mean, it's as simple as that.
All budgets, all spending must originate in the House.
Well, that's what I thought, but they've given up a lot of their power to the executive branch over the decades.
But it's not really spending. I mean, I guess that would be their defense. It's not really spending; it's collecting.
Oh, the actual lingo. You really don't want to get into this. Law school was all about buzzwords. I mean, I used to love. Oh, that's strict scrutiny. Okay, that's reasonable. All right, you just throw the buzzword in over whatever you want, however you want the decision to come out. Yeah, but
it's not spending; it's forgiveness.
It was interesting. Again, the commentary podcast, this guy Abe Greenwald, very, very smart guy. It goes along in tandem with the student loan thing. People don't want to be responsible for anything. More and more people are staying home and working out of the home and not working that hard, me included. But the whole idea is that work is for suckers, and boy, I don't know how we're going to beat the Chinese. Well, we don't even want to believe that the Chinese let the
well, we could be on a par with the Russians, because I mean that's kind of been their philosophy for the entire history of the Soviet Union, was pretend to work.
Right. I get it, but I can understand pulling the George Costanza, sitting in the corner of the office and pretending you're working in the Soviet system, where to each according to his needs. But in the capitalist system, where's the desire to get ahead? And it doesn't seem to exist.
Here's what I think about student loans, because there's a real interesting case right now where a lower court decided that students who owed money to the fraudulent school don't have to pay the money back.
Right.
But it's, the fraudulent school should actually pay the loans back. And that's what I think. If you've got a degree from a university that did not give you a job that would allow you to pay back the loan you took out to acquire that degree, you should be able to sue the university for fraud, don't you think?
Well, but the thing is, now we get into, what did you major in?
But you were sold a degree. I mean, it was, it was a stupid choice, but there it was. I mean, I guess it's like that scene from Coming to America where the guy tries to get the money back from the casino. It's like,
wasn't that also that was an Albert Brooks movie?
Yeah.
Two. Does it happen in two movies?
No, Coming to America. It's coming to not Coming to America. Something America.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yes. So that's what you're thinking of.
Yes.
I love when we end the show with our senior moments. And, that to me is really, we make the audience feel
Lost
good.
in America. Lost in America.
There we go. It was close. It was close enough. So, all right. On that kissy face note, hope you enjoyed our great informed discussion of the Alex Murdaugh trial, among other things. At least I got the name right. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.